Now, it's time to meet the players of college sports today and get this show started. He's a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, a first-round NFL draft choice, and a member of the College Football Hall of Fame as both a player and coach. He is the head ball coach, Steve Spurrier. He's a rare two-time SEC Player of the Year and spent over a decade in the NFL. Ladies and gentlemen, Shane Matthews. And presenting the host of the show, with over 25 years of sports broadcasting experience, Terry Norvelle. Coming to you from the College Sports Today studio, it's time for College Sports Today with Spurrier, Matthews, and Norvelle.
And here we go again, loaded up studio, College Sports Today. The head ball coach to my far left, Shane Matthews. To my immediate left, I'm Terry Norvelle. A lot to do. Gentlemen, welcome. Got everybody together. 40 days, Coach Spurrier. College football kicks off in 40 days, and today is SEC Media Days. It's here. I know you did some radio this morning with Buck Ballou.
Yeah, Buck Ballou. He's at Hoover and so forth. Josh Kendall, the guy from South Carolina, called me also. But, yeah, I tell you what, the preseason magazines and media boys have not been real kind to the Gators, have they?
No.
I thought we'd be, ranked behind Georgia. Georgia's probably picked to win the East, but they got us way down the line there.
Shane,
what do you think?
Well, number one, welcome. I think you were on a weekend reunion. Talk about that real quick, with that incredible high school team you played for, and then follow up with what the coach said. I guess Phil Steele is kind of leading the way with picking Florida low, but reunion over the weekend. Talk about it.
Yeah, my high school team won state championship back in '87, and it's been voted the greatest high school football team of all time. So they're trying to put together a few more reunions here and there. We've lost some guys that have passed away and what have you, so they're going to try to do that once, maybe twice, every other year or what have you. But it was good. It was a good time seeing those guys.
And y'all send a few players to play big-time college and the NFL off that high school team.
If you count the sophomores that were on that when I was a senior, we had, I think it was 42 that played college ball. Now we had 2 at LSU, 2 at Mississippi State, 2 at Florida State. I came to Florida. We had a bunch of SWAC guys in there too. Sure. But it was extremely talented.
Coach Spurrier mentioned a moment ago, several of the magazines might not have Florida real high. One of them, Phil Steele, has them real low, and I know I've interviewed him 3 or 4 times. He's not really a make a crazy pick to get some publicity. I think but he's making the circuit now. Everybody's getting him on saying, "You picked Florida where, Phil Steele?"
27th. Yeah, I mean, his magazine has more stats and stuff in it. I think he does a great job, but I'd be curious why he has Florida that low. I mean, he has he had a couple teams from the Sun Belt ranked in the top 20.
Yeah, Coastal Carolina was ahead.
And Louisiana, I believe, the Raging Cajuns.
Interesting.
So I would put my money on the Gators against one of those 2 teams if they played. But we'll see. Doesn't really matter right now.
No.
Florida lost some really good players on offense. Defense, as we all know, struggled. They have a couple transfers that should help.
And Shane, about a year ago this time, you were real concerned about Florida defensively, interior defensive line, and that really came into play.
Well, I was fortunate enough to get to see the 2 scrimmages they had that were for parents or what have you. And a lot of times you can't tell a whole lot from a scrimmage when you're going against one another. But I just thought the defensive line was getting pushed around and no pressure on the quarterback. And you can say what you want to say about the back end last year, but I think it all started with the front 4.
Yeah.
And hopefully those 2 transfers will make a difference.
Coach Spurrier, we mentioned today is the actual in-person again after missing last year. SEC Media Days is today, runs up basically all week. We were trying to count up how many SEC Media Days have you gone to, obviously at Florida and South Carolina. You went to,
I guess 23.
23.
Yeah, I heard we're saving this is his 19th.
19.
So, I don't know. I probably got the record right now.
Yeah, I would think.
I saw I took a screenshot of it. I saw this on Twitter. Speaking of Saban, Coach, let me see if I can pull it up. And it says, this came from ESPN Stats. 2021 will be Saban's 15th year at Alabama.
Wow.
including interim head coaches and the 4 new head coaches this year. The other 13 SEC schools have had 60 different head coaches in that span.
Wow.
That's crazy.
60.
Yeah.
60.
Coach, you mentioned the SEC Media Days you can follow on TV for people who want to know, and it's really 4 days. Today, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Things get started today about 11:30. Coach, Commissioner Sankey will give his about 45-minute state of the SEC. I would imagine that is going to be NIL, and more NIL talk. So Commissioner Sankey goes about 11:30. You can watch a little bit later. And then Florida actually kicks it off. Dan Mullen, and I got to believe he's happy. Florida goes at 12:15, starts making the round. Florida's in and out. If I was the head coach, I would love to be first in and out. Coach Spurrier, I was asking you before the show, the representatives that go, the players that go with each school head coach, did you really put much, did you have any input, or did you care who you took, or get with your SID guys? And
yeah, we had a little input. The
Yeah.
coach did. Yeah, you'd like to take prominent players. Shane, you went.
Shane went
once or twice, didn't you? And offense, defense, and maybe a special team guy.
Yeah, Florida is taking 2 defensive players. They're taking Ventrell Miller, the middle linebacker, and Big Zach Carter. A couple defensive guys. Mullen, obviously an offensive coach, taking a couple of defensive guys. Pretty standard. I was looking around. I thought one thing interesting on the final day. Let me give it out real quick. Today, Florida, LSU, and South Carolina. 3 today, 4 Tuesday, 4 Wednesday, and then 3 on the final day. Tomorrow, Kirby Smart will lead things off for Georgia. Josh Heupel, the new Tennessee coach, is in tomorrow. Kentucky with Mark Stoops, and then Lane Kiffin. He should be entertaining. He's the last coach on Tuesday. Wednesday, Alabama, Nick Saban will lead things off. Vanderbilt will come over with their new coach. Mike Leach making his first rounds. He should be fun, shouldn't he, Shane?
Should.
He obviously last year Leach was at Mississippi State, but there was no media days in person. So Leach will. It'll be Saban, Lee from Vanderbilt, Leach, and Jimbo Fisher will wrap things up on that Wednesday. And then the final day, another 3 coaches. Drinkwitz from Missouri is Thursday, leading off. Sam Pittman, the second coach on Thursday. And then Brian Harsin. I thought it was interesting. The Auburn coach will close things out. He's bringing Bo Nix. Obviously he's his quarterback, probably, yeah, but you wonder, hey, is Harsin kind of saying, "Come on, Bo, you're our guy"? Did you read anything into that, Shane?
Well, I don't know who else they have
Yeah.
on the roster.
Yeah.
He's played. Was he a true freshman last year or 2 years ago?
I think it's 2 years ago. Yeah.
So he's probably slated to start, and he's probably had a good
Yeah.
off season. We don't really know. We don't follow Auburn that closely, but he's got some experience, and I personally think. I think Harsin runs kind of the quote pro style offense. It may be good for Bo Nix to line up under center some, and I think he's talented. I just don't think he knows where to go with the football. And his coach, we talked about it many times. He likes to drop back and just run around,
Take off running.
So if he's being coached finally, there's a lot of people out there that say Gus Malzahn's offense is just not really
Conducive.
a system type deal. So I'm anxious to see about Bo Nix.
Both you guys, vast experience playing quarterback. Okay, both you guys, obviously. You hear coaches talk about he runs too quick. You go, how hard is it to force yourself to stay there? Everything's going on around you. Do you got to tell yourself stay a split second more and give the play a chance to develop, or don't get happy feet? How hard is it to keep a quarterback?
Well, I ran out of the pocket sometimes too soon, too early as well. It's usually when your vision breaks down. But if you know where you're supposed to go with the football or have an idea, and it's a timing offense, Coach has said many times, even if you whiff up front and you take your steps and you know where to go with it, you can get it off.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Shane could get it off probably quicker than most of our guys. 5 quick ones, hitch and throw. I remember the Georgia defensive end said he's going to get 5 sacks against us, and he didn't get any. And he said, I went around the offensive tackle, he didn't even touch me. And the quarterback had already thrown the ball when I got there. So, but decision-making is what Bo Nix needs to learn how to do. Yeah. Throw the ball first. You want to try to throw it somewhere. If you can't get it downfield, then the short guy. If none of them, then maybe at the last moment you got to take off running. But, the good quarterbacks, they keep their eyes downfield, and they feel the pass rush, and then they make good decisions on where to throw it. Simple as
Coach Spurrier, over the years, obviously you've probably had several quarterbacks that got a little antsy too quick and got happy feet, I guess. Is it hard to coach somebody out of that? To say, hey, man, you trust it a little bit. Just give it a split second more. Got to trust it a little bit. Hang in there.
I coached one at South Carolina that would watch the defensive ends rushing. He'd go back and watch him.
That's not good, right?
Not always, but every now and then he would watch the rushers. But anyway, you got to keep your eyes downfield and make good decisions. So that's, Bo Nix. But, Gus Malzahn, heck, he's a quarterback coach. And Chad Morris, he's a quarterback guru.
Supposedly.
Supposedly, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I want to introduce something, and I hate to be so vague here, but there's a project, Coach Spurrier, you and I are working on a big project, and we can't really let it all out of the bag. But we spent some time over the weekend working on this big project. Shane, I want your input, and it got Coach Spurrier and I. We were talking about the Florida-Tennessee rivalry in the '90s. The Florida-Tennessee rivalry in the '90s, and we were on this project. I'd do a little bit of research and look back at that series. That Florida-Tennessee in the '90s. FSU Miami had wound down a little bit. That was the national rivalry in college football, late 80s through early 90s, right? FSU Miami, all those great games. Well, that was winding down. Florida Tennessee, they played every year. It was a big game. Coach Spurrier, that was the national rivalry in college football in the 90s. I mean, Ohio State, Michigan flared here and there. Florida, Tennessee, looking at it on paper, it was the dominant rivalry in the 90s.
The 10 years after we started division play, we won 7, they won 3.
Yeah.
So it was whoever won the game usually won it, although we won the game and lost the division one time, and they won the game and lost the division to us another year, 92. But yeah, it's a big game, but, at the time, it was third game of the season usually, and we try to beat them. We beat them 5 years in a row, I know that, but they got us a couple in '98 and '01 that we had really good teams, but they, of course, then went on and won national championship in '98. So they had good teams, no question about it.
But Shane, obviously you played in the early ones in the '90s, and we're off to the to NFL. But you think about the national rivalries. Again, FSU Miami was winding down. Okay, when Florida and Tennessee was becoming Ohio State, Michigan, a big rivalry, but they weren't always good. Year after year after year. Texas, Oklahoma, again, they weren't always good. Oklahoma really struggled in the early '90s. That Florida, Tennessee, of which you played in the '90s, it was the national rivalry.
It was, as Coach said, it was early in the year, and whoever usually won that game went on to represent the East. And you go back and you look at those Tennessee teams in the '90s, they had so many good players. And then once Fulmer was fired or whatever, they went like 2 or 3 years, but they didn't even have a player drafted.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, so they haven't had the talent.
Yeah.
And Florida's continue having talent, winning and what have you, but man, those Tennessee teams were loaded back.
Really were. Skill players, big linemen, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, and Coach Shane as well. What a shame. Third game of the year, 2 really good teams nationally, Florida and Tennessee. Had to play, and they're in the same division. There was no 14 playoff. If there was a 14 playoff in the 90s, Coach Spurrier, I got to believe that Tennessee and Florida would have played multiple seasons twice. They probably would have matched up, you guys.
Possibly.
I mean, Tennessee would go on and not lose another game sometimes.
But, FSU, they were top 4 in the nation 11 of the 12 years I was here. And so they won their share, but they did not win their share of national championships.
Yeah.
I don't know how many they played for during that span, but they only won 2. And they easily could have won a lot more.
And I know Coach brought up FSU and that run. If there was a 14 playoff, and I know the TV boys in half the country would have hated it because it would have been so Southern. But Shane, again, if there was we got a 14 playoff now. If there was a 14 playoff back then, Florida and Tennessee would have met probably in a semifinal game 2 or 3 times, wouldn't you think?
Possibly, yeah.
I mean, playing 2 or 3 times twice. Bit of a shame in the same division. Bit of a shame. That's kind of
in the last
Yeah.
recently LSU and Alabama feels.
Yeah.
I bet LSU feels the same way.
Yeah, I guess so. Guys, I know you guys follow golf. We had a major over the weekend. Shane, followed pretty tight. I know we were busy.
Yeah, I mean, guys, Colin Morikawa was phenomenal. Made some up and downs, made some putts. He is such a good ball striker. My guy that I just love his game, Koepka, just played so bad on Saturday, or he would have been right there. He still came like third or fourth, but you know, Oosthuizen, I think it's his 9th top 3 finish in a major, and it's interesting. You know, if you take Koepka and Louis Oosthuizen, it's like the rest of the schedule on the PGA Tour, they don't really care. I shouldn't say they don't care, but they don't play like they do in the Rocket Mortgage, you know, and the John Deere Classics like they do in majors. It's just it's interesting, their mindset.
Well, Jordan Spieth had a good run.
Yes, he did.
The end of the round Saturday, when he bogeyed 17 and 18, missed a little putt. And then he only lost by 2, right?
Yeah.
2 shots. So
Right, 15 to 13. Yeah. Yeah.
You played over there, right, before, Coach?
I haven't played St. George's.
No, I'm talking about you played overseas.
Oh yeah, played
It's
St.
a different
Andrews
ball
and-
game. You don't really.
Yeah.
I used to hate the British Open growing up,
Yeah.
watching it.
Same here.
And
It's
then
a hard watch.
I guess 15 years ago, I got to go with the Mannings over there, this nationwide deal.
Okay.
And I was there a week and got to play a bunch of courses. Whoa, it changes my thought process.
When you
about
said when you were younger, you used to hate it. The visual watching it.
Yeah,
Yeah, me too. I can never tell.
I was like, it can't be that hard, but you don't realize the slope and all these different deals in the fairway. I mean, you can hit it right down the middle of the fairway,
Right.
And if you just get an unlucky bounce, you end up one of those pot bunkers. But it's fun because one hole, you know, the weather wasn't a deal this
Perfect,
weekend.
yeah.
But
Unreal.
normally, I mean,
Unreal.
when I was there, one hole you're in shorts and a golf shirt. Next hole you're putting a sweater on. And the next hole is raining sideways. I mean, you're constantly just changing clothes.
I saw the list, guys. Obviously, we just wrapped up the 4, right? We had Matsuyama won the Masters. Let me skip here. Rahm won 1, and then our guy yesterday. Okay, the one it's amazing what Phil Mickelson did. I mean, you got young first-time winners, young first-time, and there's Phil Mickelson at what, 50?
51, I think.
Yeah, he's 51
He's about my
now.
age, yeah.
And it just is unbelievable. It's still that when we get to the end of December and they do the year-end stories. I mean, that's got to be one of the top 5, right?
Oh, there's no question. And I love, you know, Phil's comments. I don't know if you ever see them. You know, people ask him, I forgot what tournament. He's like, hey, I still won the PGA Championship.
They asked
Yeah.
him what his problems
Yeah,
were.
yeah, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm still the PGA
Yeah,
champion.
he's not going to be competitive in all of them, that's for sure. But that 1 week in South Carolina, that was his time. Yeah.
Coach Spurrier, I know we're going to get you out of here on a break here real quick, and this is getting away from SEC talk because it's SEC Media Days. But one thing that has struck me this offseason as we're really getting into college football, Michigan and Harbaugh. Right now, I think the worst thing is happening. There's apathy. Nobody's even, you know, at least the last 2 or 3 years, people were, is he going to finally win a big game? Can he compete? The scary thing, I think, Shane, I'll let you lead first. The scary thing right now is Michigan and Jim Harbaugh, it's not even a story anymore. That can't be good. He's got to win some games.
Yeah, he does. I mean, well, not win games, but he's got to beat the big
Yeah,
games. That's the big thing.
Real games.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't even know where are they ranked in the top 25?
I don't think so.
Yeah, and you know, he's so old school. You know, I was a rookie. My rookie year, he was the quarterback of the Bears, and I'm sitting in meetings and I'm going, "This guy's the quarterback in the National Football." I mean, the coach would, you know, coach, you rewind it. What's his coverage?
Yeah.
Harbaugh wouldn't know.
Really?
And I'm sitting there. I'm a free agent quarterback. I'm going, I don't know what coverage this is. And then he just told me, "Hey, I don't worry about the coverage. I just drop back, run around, and try to make plays."
But, Coach, if they're not talking about you good or bad, that can't. Nobody's talking about Michigan and Harbaugh, at least before they
Well,
were.
you know, the funny thing, I don't know if it's funny, but they give him such a huge contract. I don't know, what, he make $9 million or more. I don't know what he's making. So they whittled him back a little bit. So they can't fire him. He still got all these years left. And it's just so surprising to me the way these ADs pour out. I guess there's so much money in college football that they, but you know, let the guy earn his way as you go. That they don't do that much anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll leave you with this, Coach. You told a story on this show last week about your days at Duke. I believed you, of course. I believe everything you say, but I spent a lot of time in Gainesville this weekend, and I was in your restaurant quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I had some downtime, and I really took my time and looked around. It's an amazing restaurant, amazing museum and artifacts. You told the story about getting the job at Duke, the head job. And you said in those days, here's how we did it. I guess the AD and the president called you and said, hey,
Just the AD.
the AD says, the guy before you was making, and I'm gonna say, you said the number, so I'm gonna say the number. You said the guy before you made $74,500.
74,500.
Right? And he says, we're going
Bump
Steve,
you all the
we're
way
going to
up?
start you all the way at 75,000.
Yeah,
Okay?
75
That's not
there.
the story. The story that I'm going to, that letter's on the wall. The letter from Duke is on your artifact wall, and it says right there, it's official Duke letterhead, an official contract offer, and it says, and we're going to offer you the pay of $75,000. You weren't just exaggerating that. That was straight true, yeah.
You thought I was driving?
No, just kind of,
No.
making a point,
No,
You-
numbers stick with me.
yeah,
So I wouldn't.
74.5. The previous guy says, "Oh, Steve, we're bringing you in. You're the new guy. We're bumping you up to 75 grand," and it's right there on that letter.
And then the first year we lost some close games. We were 5-6, which the other coaches would call that a big year at Duke. But anyway, I went in and I said, all right, what am I making this year? I was ticked off because we lost 3 close ones. But anyway, he said, you did actually pretty good. I said, 5-6 is pretty good. And he said, I'm going to give you a 10% raise. So I went up to, 82.5 or something like that. And then the next year, though, we went 7-3-1, and we beat North Carolina again. And I said, I read in the paper where Matt Brown's making $250, and you're paying me, 92 or something now? And he said, well, we don't have as much money as North Carolina. And so we haggled around a little bit, but he still didn't pay me hardly anything. No big deal.
Shane, I thought you were maybe just pulling some numbers to make a numbers comparison. No, and then it's backed up.
The actual contract.
That actually, it's on the wall at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We'll get out of here, Coach. We are a couple of weeks away. That staff, I saw that, is training up hard, and it is close.
Yeah, the restaurant staff, workers, bartenders, waiter and waitresses, they are excited and got a good look in their eyes, and they're raring to go.
Yeah, they were.
So we're planning on August 11 being the opening day.
Yeah.
I think August 10 have a ribbon cutting ceremony there and so forth.
Nice.
So we're ready to get the Gridiron Grill going.
It is beautiful in Celebration Point in the Gainesville area. Let's take a break. Coach Spurrier going to get about his business. Shane and I will hit around a couple more topics here on a Monday edition of College Sports Today.
All the good vibes we had, we'll have again. All the good vibes we've had, we'll have again. All the good vibes we've had, we'll have again. All the good vibes we've had, we'll have again.
Taste the islands and every drop of Vida de Luis tequila. 100% blue agave from Tequila, Mexico. Good
All the
vibes.
good vibes we've had, we'll have again. All the good vibes we've had, we'll have again.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi. Hey, look, it's those guys. Are you good to drive?
I'm fine.
How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be.
Go and step out of the vehicle for me.
See ya, buddy. Good luck. So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing, and it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs? Just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
We kick off the second half of college sports today. Appreciate Coach Spurrier hanging out for about a half hour. He's on out and about on business. Shane Matthews hanging out. And, of course, we can't get things done without our sponsors. You see them right there, the two Safe Harbor Seafood locations. Crescent Beach up and running, of course, and the original in Mayport. Safe Harbor Seafood restaurants, great sponsors. Also, Sliders Oyster Bar down in Neptune Beach, famous place down there. Indoor-outdoor dining, entertainment, great oyster bar inside. They'll shuck them. You can sit there and have a great time. Cold drinks, good atmosphere is what you will find at Sliders Oyster Bar, Neptune Beach. JB Coxwell Contracting, one of our newer sponsors. We thank everybody that makes this show happen. If you would like to advertise on this show right here, College Sports Today with Spurrier, Matthews, and Norvelle, reach out to me, Terry Norvelle. There's the email. I'll be glad to make it happen. tnsportsjacks@yahoo.com. Shane Matthews, a couple topics here, second half of the show, bouncing around. College football, 40 days away. Last year, an overall defining characteristic of college football across the country was defenses got shredded.
Mm-hmm.
You expect that to carry over this year?
I do. I think the game has changed. The rules have favored the offense, and it's all about just getting people in space. And it's just, I don't care how good your defensive athlete is compared to the same caliber in space, you don't have a chance.
So really, to adjust that with some exceptions here and there, to adjust that, the rule book would have to help. And
that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, yes. So you think we're still going to see high scoring, score, which most fans, not all, but most fans would prefer 41-40 than 17-10. I can see the beauty in both of those type of games, but most fans. With that as a backdrop, last year really not a lot of defense played, yet at Mississippi State, Mike Leach really scuffled while most of the nation moved the ball.
Well,
does that? Where I'm going is, are we going to see this? If Mike Leach doesn't move it more, do we just put gimmick on his offense and say, "How mummy gimmick"? Because everybody else seemed to move the ball, but the guy that's supposed to move the ball.
Yeah, I don't know if it's gimmick. I think they need to tweak it some, and Lincoln Riley has done that.
Yes.
I have a close friend of mine that I always, anytime an air raid offense plays on TV or in a bowl game, I text and I go, "Why are they not taking any shots? It's too many sideways balls thrown for me, horizontal instead of vertical."
Yeah.
And
basically no running.
No, yeah, because they never play with a tight end, they never play with a fullback. So
is there still, the way he plays, is there still free yards if you pop a run here and there? Is there still free yards sitting there, rushing yards?
Well, I think so. I mean, coaches talked about it a lot of times, how you can defend them. I would think Leach and his staff looked at what they did last year, what hurt them in the SEC, and I would hope they've made some adjustments and some tweaks to be a more productive offense. Now, if you play man-to-man against them, as LSU did,
week one,
you will get shredded.
Yeah, week
one.
But
if you line up and play zone and keep everything in front of you, bad things are going to happen eventually.
Interesting. Interesting. Shane, I had last Friday, I had my good friend Frank Frangie out of Jacksonville. I had him on. Obviously, he's the voice of the Jacksonville Jaguars, but Frank has covered college football for a number of years, and he's in Hoover for this year's SEC Media Days. And I ran a statement at him, and I'm going to run it at you, and you'll understand why I phrased it the way I did. And Evan, we'll have a slide here in a moment with Georgia, if we can dig it up from Friday. It's slide number 1 from Friday's show. Here's the statement. What if the next SEC football national champion is not Alabama or Georgia? ... You see where that statement's going?
Who do I think it would be?
No.
Oh.
You see, the statement is to point out, if the next national champion is from the SEC in football, whoever wins it the next time, I'm not saying this year, whenever, if it's Alabama, ho-hum, it's Alabama. What if the next SEC football national champion is not Alabama or Georgia, meaning it would most likely be a Florida on LSU?
I think it'll be Texas A&M.
From the Georgia perspective, what is, if that happened though? From the Georgia, I mean, is that just devastating to that program?
Probably because they haven't won one in what?
41-ish years.
Yeah, and A&M I don't think has ever won one. Maybe they did.
Yeah, a long time ago.
But
what would that mean to Georgia, to Kirby Smart? He's not in danger of getting fired or anything. But if within the next year, 2 or 3, an SEC football program wins it, it's not Alabama and it's not Georgia, meaning it would be somebody that had to have theoretically passed Georgia, not named Alabama.
Yeah, I don't think Kirby's is in any danger. I think he's done a really good job. He knows what he's doing. He's recruiting and getting really good players. I think they're going to be in the hunt every year.
Does he? He's not going to get fired. We're not saying that at all. Please don't go. But wouldn't it just devastate that fan base if LSU is holding it up, if Florida is holding it up before Georgia does, if it's not Alabama?
I personally think if it's not one of those two this year, I think it's A&M.
I love A&M. Yeah, you know. And Evan, I don't know, do we have that slide? Let's. This is not just Terry. No, the other one. Okay. So anyway, we don't have the slide from Friday, but I've got it here. Where I'm going to is, I put together from Friday. There's 6 or 8 just random media outlets that are Georgia-based media outlets. This year, there's more pressure, I think, on Georgia to really make a run. Think about it. There's no returning quarterback Tua at Bama. There's no returning superstar quarterback at Clemson named Lawrence. There's no returning starting quarterback at Ohio State. They're all starting fresh. Georgia's got a little bit of experience, but now or never for Georgia football coach Kirby Smart, only half true from Dog Nation. Okay? This isn't bash Georgia people. Is it now or never for Georgia? Tony Barnhart, a Georgia grad. Okay? 2 reasons Georgia football will win the elusive national championship. Fanside.com. Again, not Gator bashers, Gator fans, not. It is now or never for Georgia under Kirby Smart. 24/7 Sports. That's their headline. What we are hearing, we have to see if Kirby Smart can get UGA over the hump. Dog Post. It's a Georgia site. Kirby Smart under more pressure than any coach in the nation. Dawnofthedog.com. Shane. Georgia Post. All the pieces are in place for Georgia and Kirby Smart. Now it's time to get over the hump. The Athletic. Man. I mean, that's one of the prevailing storylines.
Well, it is, but I can tell you one thing. Kirby Smart and those dudes in the locker room don't give a damn what any of those people say.
Yeah.
It's media people that want to get on Twitter and go back and forth.
Reason for that exercise, it really is permeating now that people, fair or foul, are going, all right, my man, you've got a bit of a seasoned quarterback. The other 3 that you're chasing, they're starting over at quarterback with really good guys probably. Interesting. LSU. I think one of the big stories this week in the SEC is going to be a negative story. I think one of them, obviously, Ed Orgeron is named as a witness in a federal investigation. LSU's athletic program is in a mess. Shane, I think I brought this up before. If I was an LSU fan, the last thing my football team needs going into the season is musical quarterbacks. Boy, I think it's key that somebody grabs that job. I think there's a lot of noise in LSU's system. The last thing you need is that special position quarterback bouncing around.
I think Miles Brennan will be their quarterback.
You think Brennan comes back? You like Johnson, though, right?
Yeah, I like what I saw compared to the other guy.
Yeah.
I mean, but I thought Miles Brennan was pretty good
until he got hurt.
Yeah.
And he seemed to know what he's doing. But boy, I circled that game. I'm telling you, that's a dicey little game for LSU. Top of the schedule, they go way across country to UCLA. I think UCLA is better than people give credit for. It's a dicey little game. What do you make of? I think it's gonna be fun watching Missouri, Kentucky fight it out to see which one of them is above each other. I think both of those programs are pretty good for what they are. How do you think Missouri, Drinkwitz, Kentucky, Stoops, they brought in a couple five-star offensive linemen. How do you think that plays out?
Well, I don't know a whole lot about either one of the teams. I do know this. I like Drinkwitz calling plays.
Me too. And
I don't like Kentucky at all on offense. Never have, never will. But defensively, they're usually pretty good. So it's going to be interesting. But Missouri's that team that nobody knows anybody on their team.
Never do.
But they play hard.
Yeah. And they really play tough in Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
They really get you.
They lull you to sleep at that place.
And we talked earlier in the show about watching the years we've watched the British Open. It never looks right when you're watching on TV.
Mm-hmm.
There's no trees that lead you down the fair. It's just watching a game from Missouri on TV is an awkward. The camera angle's low. The field looks.
Well, they got these weird numbers on the field.
Yeah, the font of the numbers is funny, and the field looks compressed always to me.
Yeah,
and there's some kind of rule. Every game has to kick off at 11 a.m. local time, right? In Columbia. But I think, not saying neither one of them are going to get into the 2 spot. But Georgia, Florida, Georgia 1-2. I think that's going to be
according to you, but not to a lot of the media out there.
I know. What else are you hearing? You pointed out Phil Steele, but what else?
There was somebody else, like I said earlier, that had Florida the 4th team in the East. I can't remember who it was. I'm like, how is that possible?
Ooh, it's a lot of losses if you're 4th.
That would be a nightmare.
That would be a nightmare. I mean, if you are 4th in the East, Shane, that's help me out. Is that 5 or 6 losses to finish 4th?
I would think.
Right?
I don't know how there's no way that happens.
Did you see the story? Bounce around a couple more college topics and we'll get out of here. Did you see the story last week? I call it revisionist history, but Terrell Pryor and the Ohio State Tattoo Gate people are saying, hey, we want reinstatement and all. And that's spurned off the Reggie Bush. Maybe they should look at his Heisman. Shane, we can't do revisionist history, can we?
No, we'd be here all day. I mean,
it would never end.
Years, yeah.
Right?
I mean, there were rules in place, and
you
broke the rules at that time.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of silly.
See, I don't think Reggie Bush obviously earned the Heisman Trophy, but I don't know how you give it back to him.
And the precedent you would set. I mean, what would stick? Oh well, you just slapped me down, big deal. I'll just let some time pass, rear my head in 3 years, and say, hey, come on, Scout's honor, I won't do it again. Bad look, I thought. I saw where Nebraska named, did you see Trev Alberts as their AD? They keep going back to the past. He was doing some broadcasting. I'm okay with Trev Alberts, but he comes across a little too much smartest guy in the room. But they're going back to that. Did Nebraska really screw up? The numbers say yes, but did Nebraska really screw up 17 years ago or whatever when they fired Frank Solich? I mean, he was winning 9 games, 10 games.
You look back now, yeah.
And
I think there's no way I'm comparing this, but if you look back to Coach Spurrier's career here, okay, Coach decided to leave, but you heard the rumblings. They were winning 9 and 10 games, 11 games, but not playing for the national title. And coaches get tired of that. Now, in Nebraska, they basically fired him for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But, winning 9, 10 games every year is pretty damn good.
And I totally agree. Nebraska, I don't think has ever sunk to the lows that Tennessee is in, but boy, you've got to hire the right coach in college. The college coach wears every hat. And Nebraska's, it hadn't got as bad as Tennessee, I don't think, but they were bumping around Callahan and all these guys that were just not the right guy. just not the right guy. You know, from last week, I love Texas A&M this year. I've got them. I've got Oklahoma and A&M playing for the national title. I love A&M. I saw a early projected NFL draft 4 A&M first rounders.
Anais Smith was one of them, or no?
4, no.
I think he's the best player in the SEC.
I think he's great.
He's by far the best player in the SEC.
They've got the big defensive lineman, DeMarvin Leal, everybody loves. Big beast of a defensive lineman. They've got an offensive lineman that's going to go in the first round.
Isaiah Spiller.
Spiller, the running back, and Weidemeyer, who, if it wasn't
the tight end,
if it wasn't for Kyle Pitts,
he's a very good player.
Very good player. He was Kyle Pitts light last year. I love A&M if they get a little quarterback play. Now it scares me.
Well, here's the thing: we don't know who their quarterback is, but it would not shock me if that guy's better than Kellen Mond.
I totally agree.
I mean, Kellen Mond did nothing for me.
And he went what, in the second round? Second or third round?
Third round.
Yeah, you're with me. I know I've talked to Chris Doring on many interviews. Same exact conversation. Kellen, did he ever get any better? Jimbo loved him, or either that's all he had, and he knew he was talking between his ears to coach him up. Jimbo, everything he said for 3 years, I think he had him, loved him, right?
Well, he's probably a hard-working kid, going to give you everything he's got, but he wasn't a legitimate quarterback to me.
If A&M, who they were 9-1 last year, they probably would have expanded playoff. They would have definitely been in it. Nearly got in a 4-team playoff. Obviously, they lost early to Alabama. A lot of things are in place, including Alabama coming to College Station. If Jimbo doesn't take that proverbial next step with that contract that hangs around his neck a lot.
Well, he ain't as paid. Dan Mullen's paid more than him now.
Yeah, is that right?
I think so.
Yeah. Does the state of Texas get heavy on Jimbo if he doesn't do something next step this year?
I guess, but I mean, you know, I think he's got to beat Alabama. That's what they want to do, and he has a good chance this year. But you know, if you go 9-1 or 10-1 again, and lose to them, I mean, it is what it is.
It really is. Final thought, Shane. We'll get out of here on Monday edition a little bit early. Most of the news will start today. Remember, the SEC Media Days, they really start with the first coach, Dan Mullen, at 12:15. So you haven't missed anything from Hoover. Right now, Commissioner Sankey is giving a state of the SEC, and he'll do that until about 12:15, and things will start. NCAA basketball transfers. I don't know if you followed much of it, but there's some big names out there. Kofi Coburn, the big guy from Illinois, stayed.
I heard he's going.
He stayed.
Oh, he went back?
He stayed at Illinois.
I thought he was in the portal.
He went in the portal.
Oh, I did not hear that.
He pulled his name out of the NBA a while ago. He threw his name in the portal, and most people, or the odds-on 2 or 3 weeks ago, was he going to Kentucky.
That's what I heard, yeah.
2 assistant coaches from Illinois went to Kentucky.
Right.
Because there's some movement on Cal's staff. Now, Coburn is so good. Wherever he was going to go, if he went somewhere else, was immediate national title contender. Kentucky might have been the favorite if he went there. Doesn't go to Kentucky. Then there was 11th hour that Florida State had a real shot at him.
Ooh.
Looked at Florida State and stayed home. Stayed at Illinois.
I did not hear that.
Stayed for Underwood, so he stays there. Kevin O'Banner.
Maybe he got a good car dealer to hook him up.
Maybe. They were saying, though, it looked like he was going to leave Illinois. And first-team All-American, I thought I read somewhere he would have been the first-team All-American returnee to transfer out of a program in 40-something years. Just doesn't happen. So he stays. Do you remember the name Kevin O'Banner? He was the Oral Roberts.
Oh, yeah. He's a good player.
Killed Florida. Went for 30 and 16. He's a big man. They call him the best shooting big man in college basketball. He said he wasn't going back to Oral Roberts. He went. People thought he was going to go to Arkansas, and it was going to be a perfect fit. The way they play, a big man that shoots a 3 for Musselman. 11th hour, he goes to Texas Tech, who lost their coach, Chris Beard, to Texas.
Oh, who's their coach now?
I'm drawing a blank.
I forgot about that.
Well, yeah, Beard. They bumped up. Texas Tech bumped up because Beard went to Texas.
Okay.
But it was an upset. A lot of people, basketball people, thought he'd go perfect style to Arkansas.
Yeah.
But he goes, and then most people big man guard argument. Most people think maybe the biggest name in the draft, the portal, was Marcus Carr. 19-point-a-game kid from Minnesota. He's going to Texas. From Minnesota to Texas.
He's a good player now.
Yeah. Texas is loaded up now. Beard went there and got a bunch of transfers. But the big news is Kofi Coburn stayed at Illinois.
I didn't know that.
You don't see that.
I like the Marcus Carr guy a lot.
He's good, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's 20-point game guy, big time point guard that goes to Texas. Speaking of if not now, when? My God, Texas basketball. I mean, they've cycled the coaches through, and they want to win, and they'll fire a coach. And
this guy, I think he can coach.
He can really coach. All right, Shane, let's get out of here. Really big news will start developing the rest of the week as SEC Media Days is really a half hour from kicking off. Dan Mullen and the Gators lead things off. They'll be in and out. 3 today, 4, and then 3 coaches and sets of players on Thursday. You back in the swing of things?
Pretty much.
Your show rocking and rolling, had a little vacation now.
Yeah. We're still doing a little, since there's still not a whole lot to talk about right now.
Yeah.
We're still doing a little throwback, some past interviews.
Yeah, you had a lot of, man, I heard
Lomas
Brown.
Yeah, we're going to do quarterbacks this week.
Yeah, Lomas Brown was great. Going quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Do you know who you got lined up yet, or putting it all together? Or?
Yeah, we had Werfel today. We'll have Cresser, Chris Leak, Rex Grossman. Yeah,
Shane Matthews.
Well,
you gonna have Shane on?
They have me every day.
you gonna have Shane on? That'll wrap it up. We appreciate Coach Spurrier for being in here. Don't forget the restaurant coming up in a matter of weeks. Official public opening is August 11th. That is only a few days away. As a matter of fact, we are 40 days from the start of college football 2021. For Coach Spurrier and, of course, our producer, Evan Miller, and my buddy Shane Matthews, I'm Terry Norvelle. We'll do it again on Friday. Join us for the next edition of College Sports Today.